Back to Scoot on WWL. Call 504-260-1870. Text 870-870 or tweet at Scoot WWL.
Statistics show that the rate of armed robberies in New Orleans is down for the first 6 months of this year compared to last year, but that seems to contradict this growing fear that armed robberies are not only increasing, but that more citizens feel the daily threat of becoming a victim. There's something really interesting that is now available on the market. And Tommy McMahon is with Eustis Insurance. He's the president of Eustis Insurance. He joins us live on our show. Tommy, welcome to the show, and tell us about Malicious Act Insurance.
Scoot, thank you for having me. Malicious Acts is a new type of coverage available in the last, I guess, year to two, and it basically protects the business owner's revenue stream following a malicious act or even the threat of a malicious act that results in the downturn of revenue to that business. A good example really would be in our city, the hospitality industry, hotels, parks, theaters, restaurants, even the convention center for that matter. If there were an event to take place or a threat of a malicious act that took place which repelled a crowd, nobody wanted to come there anymore, and they saw a downturn in revenue, that is now something that can be insured through the property market. And up until about a year and a half ago, that really wasn't the case.
Now, they would have to show on their books that they have lost business. How long would it take them to show that loss before they would be paid by the insurance company?
That's a tough question, and it really is going to boil down to each individual claimant at that point is going to be its own thumbprint. No two are the same. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier for a one-off small 50-seat, 100-seat restaurant to come up with that information versus maybe a convention center, because you can show what was on the books. And if you can show the downturn, let's say it took 30 days before the crowd started showing back up again, and then you really had to ramp back up, it becomes almost a financial forensic to prove your loss.
Because, it seems like, unfortunately, there are people who take advantage of insurance companies, as I'm sure you are well aware of. There could be companies that business goes down and they would blame it on something like a malicious act when a malicious act really wasn't at fault.
That's certainly the case. And as in any insurance policy, I guess the caveat here overwhelmingly would be the definition in the policy of malicious act or the threat of a malicious act. Because I'm talking in broad terms, but you would read each policy form specific to itself. And anybody listening to this would have to talk to their agent and be comfortable with the language in the policy to understand just what it is, the risk they're trying to insure against.
So if somebody owns a business, and right now Uptown has been a focal point, if somebody owns a business uptown, a restaurant or a bar, they could buy insurance, and this would not do anything about the loss of life, but it would protect them if there was a loss of business to them, or even if a neighboring business was robbed and their business went down, and they could show that was a result of what happened in their neighborhood, the insurance company would reimburse them for the loss?
Correct. If crafted properly, you could name yourself as a dependent property. If you're the small restaurant outside of a convention center, and the convention center has the threat, and that's your, so to speak, anchor, quote unquote, you can craft the policy to pay your loss based on the loss at the larger anchor property.
Now, would the insurance rate, insurance rates for our car insurance increases based on where we live? If you live downtown, like I do, even though I have a car in a parked, secure garage, I pay a lot because of the zip code. Would businesses pay a different amount of money based on their location?
Location is one factor, but the limit that you're looking to insure up to, again, the number of, say, seats or your financial exposure. A convention center that can hold tens of thousands of people is going to be a much larger premium, obviously, than the neighborhood po' boy store that holds, 50 seats.
Yeah. It's just interesting that insurance companies have come up with this idea, hey, we're going to protect you against losses if a malicious act leads to a decline in business.
it's just one of those areas where there's a pocket of historically a pocket area that is not had not been insurable up until recently, similar to cyber theft and hacking, all these things that are now starting to happen in our world, which are not traditional insurable interests, or had not been, are now being explored by the insurance companies because there's risk there. Where there's risk that's measurable and quantifiable, the insurance companies will try to put together a form and a rate to say, hey, you can swap that risk for $1.
And Tommy, relative to what insurance costs on every different level, is this considered relatively affordable insurance?
From what I've seen, yes. Because you can add it to your property insurance. And I would, speaking directly to the public now, the property rates are softening over the last 2 to 3 years. They're coming back down to normal, or the new normal. And with that softening, it would be a good time for the business owner to consider adding this to their portfolio. If they have a 7, 8, 10% savings on their renewal for property, maybe spend 1 or 2 points back and add this coverage.
Okay.
Especially if you're in one of these areas like you spoke about that seem to be more target areas.
And it's the Malicious Acts Insurance.
That's correct. That's what it's called.
All right. Tommy McMahon, president of Eustis Insurance. Thanks for the information.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Sure. If you want to join us with a comment, our number is 260-1870. It's area code 504-260-1870. Our text is